entertained. I hope you enjoyed your meal. Yes. We have a lot to go through this evening. But first of all, I would like to recognise the presence of the Mayor of North Down North. He was very generous to us by hosting us at his charity function in St Patrick's night. And we really thoroughly enjoyed his generosity and the entertainment which was provided that evening for his 4 charities. He says to me that he hasn't long to go in his mayoral office, and so we had to jump in quickly and book him to come along with us and to be entertained by us this evening. As a big thank you for what he and the council do for our society over the years by holding in trust and security of all our memorabilia of Percy Finch which we have gathered over the years. So in recognition of that and a thank you from our society, I would ask Robert to come and receive from us a little token of the Percy Finch Society, and I hope you enjoy your visit. Without the condition, no speeches. So we're going to move quickly on. We're not doing a Burns night tonight, but we're doing something better. We're doing the memory of Percy Finch, who said, "Remember me is all I ask, but if it's a task, forget. You don't wish to forget." And we are inviting now Noel Thomas to come along and help us to remember. Noel.
Good evening, everyone. A delight to be with you again. I thank you, Ronnie, for the very kind invitation. I have memories of other very excellent evenings with this society, which appears we're going from strength to strength. My own connection, for those of you who haven't heard me before, my father was a virtuoso exponent of Percy Finch. He sang it in halls all over Belfast for many years, so it was at his knee that I imbibed all the songs and have loved him ever since. So I'm very, very happy to be here to help you celebrate what would have been Percy's, or William's apparently. Didn't like to be called Percy, you tell me. Never knew that, but anyway, I'm always going to call him Percy. His 64th birthday, so if we think back to 1918, what was going on? Well, the end of the war, of course, the foundation of the Royal Air Force, the starting of rationing for butter and sugar. The Education Act raised school leaving to the age of 14. Women over 21 were allowed to vote or stand for Parliament, I beg your pardon. Yeah, say no more. It was the first ever 9 lessons and carols from Kings. And Sinn Féin refused to take their seats at Westminster. Well, some things haven't changed, I guess. But if you think of what a world Percy would have found today, could he even have imagined it? Can you imagine it would have been Phil the Synthesizer's ball, Slattery's paramilitary insurgents, Matt Hannigan's transgender relatives. A very different world indeed. But I always remember when I was a boy, I used to read a lot of P.G. Wodehouse, and on the back of most P.G. Wodehouse novels there was a line from Kingsley Amis, another wonderful novelist, and it was just, "He has made a world for us to live in and delight in." And I think that is what Percy Finch did, and why we can look back over, well, almost 100 years since his death in a couple of years' time, and still rejoice in the unchanging nature of that music, the art, the poetry, everything which makes Percy Finch dear to all our hearts. So, not going to say any more than that. I'm just going to say thank you again for the invitation, and I'd like to propose the toast to the memory of the birthday of Percy Willie Finch. To Percy! Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, on to the main thrust of our evening, entertainment word and song of Percy French and other appropriate and enjoyable themes. So I'm going to invite, delighted to have with us Pat McCourt and Eileen McCourt with us this evening, and our own Vincent Irvin, Laura Carter is with us again, delighted to hear that, and Harry Williamson. So these people can play a part in the evening, but I'm going to put it now over to the capable hands of Eileen to come and introduce the programme. Eileen McCourt.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to say thank you very much, first of all, to the catering staff for that beautiful meal we had. It was very enjoyable. And we're all here tonight with a common bond, a common denominator, and that, of course, is William Percy French and our love for his music and his songs. Right, I want to take you on a roller coaster of emotions tonight. We want to bring you on the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs. We want to make you laugh. And we expect a few tears, and we want to bring you on the highs and the lows of Percy French's life. I want to get you in, first of all, to the persona of William Percy French. And you all know the words I'm going to say to you now, and yes, you recognise them. Could I find again Nordland, where I loved to lie and dream, while the dragonflies were dancing to the rippling of the stream. I'd give up all the world has brought, and all that it might bring, to be that merry boy again, sailing through the spring. You all know those words, don't you? Yeah. Okay, we're going to start off, first of all, with your the North Down signature tune, and that, of course, is the Mountains of Mourne. We're going to take you through some themes here. And the first theme here is this yearning for home. William Percy French wrote this in London, and he was thinking of the contrast in life in London and the life back home. And of course, Newcastle, County Down, where the Mountains of Mourne sweep down to the sea. So I want you to enjoy this delightful rendition of Pat with the Mountains of Mourne. And the next one, we're on the same theme, nostalgia and looking back to the old country from London. And of course, the one for Yitz, that is the Leg Isle Ministry. You all know that one, don't you? And Pat has composed the music for this one, so I hope you enjoy this. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honeybee, and live alone in the bee-lowered glade. And I shall have some place there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the fields of the morning to where the cricket sings. There, midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for all is night and day. I hear lake waters lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on this roadway, or on the pavement's grey, I hear it in the deep hearts. We're going to move now to the theme of emigration. And emigration, as you know, has been the scourge of Irish society right down through the centuries. Whether through famine, unemployment, religious problems, it has been there. And of course, emigration in those days was not like it is now. There was no Skype, there was no planes to take you home. Imagine an old woman in the west of Ireland watching her son fade into the distance with his knapsack on his back. He was heading for Australia, or America, or England. He wasn't coming back. She was not going to see him again, and they both knew that. Imagine the heartbreak and the pain associated with that. So this roller coaster, we want to take you down now to a sad part of it. And of course, the emigrant's letter. William Percy French was on the boat to America, and it was full of emigrants. And there was one young emigrant there. He heard him wistfully saying, "Oh my goodness, if I was home today in Creeslough, they'd be cutting the corn in Creeslough today." So the first one we have here is Pat playing again the emigrant's letter. And I know you all this, and you know this, so I hope you enjoy this one. Okay, Pat? And the other one, of course, that goes in the immigration theme is Compact Paddy Riley to Paddy Jim stuff. Many people believe or think that Paddy Riley didn't actually exist, but he did exist. He was a Jarvey in Ballygene stuff, and every time William Percy Finch came back to the area, he drove him around. And one summer, he wasn't there. Paddy Riley wasn't there. He had gone to emigrate to Scotland. And what did William Percy Finch do? What he always did, he wrote a song about it. So, Paddy Riley did come back to Ballygene stuff, and he's buried in the local graveyard there. So again, I hope you enjoy this rendition of Compact Paddy Riley to Ballygene stuff. Up the tempo a bit here, into a bit of humour, and we're now coming to fill the Fluter's Ball. You all know that one. Here we are in the Ireland of the absentee landlords. Absentee because they were absent from their estates, they lived in England, so all the money was being drained out of Ireland into England. Okay, and the biggest problem most of the smallholders had was finding the rent. And of course the rent was collected by the land agent. The landlord didn't live in Ireland, he had an agent who collected that rent. And that was the dreaded call at the door when the land agent came. If you didn't have the money for your rent, there was no mercy. Ulster was slightly different because there was what was called in Ulster an Ulster custom, right? Which promised 3 F's: fair rent, fixed rate tenure, and freedom of sale. It was a mutual understanding between landlord and tenant because of their common origins in the Ulster plantation. But the rest of Ireland didn't have that. So if you could not pay your rent, you were evicted. And this Phil in Ballymuck, he doesn't have the money, so he's got to come up with some scheme to get the money. So he decides to have a ball in his house and invite everybody there, and of course he has the hat at the door waiting for the money. And we can take it that he got his money because he wasn't evicted. Okay, so we're going to listen to that again. This is the Fluter's Ball. We're going up the tempo and enjoy this one, okay? of love. Okay, and we're starting here with one of Yeats's, Wilbert Yeats, Sally Gardens. You all know that one. Sally Gardens is a poem about unrequited love, which was a reflection of Yeats's own relationship, failed relationship, especially with Morgan McBride. Yeats proposed to a lot of women in his life. Nearly every woman he met got a proposal, and as I've lately discovered, even our own Catherine Tynan got one. But whatever he was doing wrong, none of them seemed to work out. But Sally Gardens was written as a result of William Butler Yeats hearing an old Irish woman on the banks of the river in Ballysadair outside Sligo. And the words he heard her say are the words that are in the song. And those words were, "Down by Unflowery Gardens, my love and I, we first did meet. I held her in my arms, and to her I did give kisses sweet. She bade me take life easy, as the leaves fall from the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with my darling did not agree." And the word Sally is the Irish word Salach, meaning willow. And it was along the banks of the river in Ballysadair that people collected willows to make thatching. And that is where this song comes from. So Pat's and I are going to play for you, Sally Gardens. To William Percy French with Eileen Oak, the pride of Petherford. Beautiful young woman pursued by all the men, but she wouldn't have any of them. She chose the cattle drover. And why? Because he ignored her. And she went for him. So she couldn't take it. That's what happened. So if any of you down there are wondering what the moral is, then the moral is don't chase them, let them chase you. So if you're wondering what maybe has gone wrong in your life, maybe there's a lesson for you there. And this is going to be sung by Winston. Irwin is going to sing this for you.
Sorry? That's small.
wasn't she the bride of Petrovore? But her beauty made us all so shy, not a man among us could look her in the eye. Boys, oh boys, that's the reason why we're in wonder for the bride of Petrovore. I know my heart is going away, ever since the day you wandered far away. I know there's good vision to say, but there's nothing like the bride of Petrovore. Friday at the fair in Bangor Tower, I met McGrath the cattle jobber. I'd like to lay me mark upon the robber, for he stole away the bride of Petrovore. He never seemed to see the girl at all, even when she ogled him from underneath her shawl. Looking big and masterful when she was looking small, most provoking for the bride of Petrovore. I know the heart is full away, ever since the day you wandered far away. I know there's good fishing to say, but there's nothing like the bride of Petrovore. So it went as it was in the beginning. Eileen would bet upon the winning. Big McGrath contentedly was grinning, being courted by the bride of Petrovore. Says he, you know, a girl that could knock you into fits. At this Eileen nearly lost her wits. The upshot of the ruction was that now the robber sits with his arms around the bride of Petrovore. Eileen, my heart is full away, ever since the day you wandered far away. Eileen, there's good fishing to say, but there's nothing like the bride of Petrovore. Boys, oh boys, 'tis fate, 'tis hard to grapple. Of me eye, 'tis Eileen was the apple. And now to see her walk into the chapel with the hardest fated man of Petrovore. Now boys, this is all I have to say. If you want to do your courting, make no display. If you want them to run after you, just walk the other way, for they're mostly like the bride of Petrovore. I know my heart is blown away, ever since the day you wandered far away. I know there's good reason to say, but there's nothing like the bride of Petrovore.
Winston, and thank you for that. We're going to change the tempo again now. Now we're into a more mystic kind of area here. All the famous writers and poets were very much aware of forces at work all around us, outside what our normal 5 physical senses could pick up. And William Percy, French, and William Butler Yeats, no different. The little folk, they were all around us, the banshees, the leprechauns, and they demanded respect. You had to be very careful around them. You did not upset or you did not disturb them. So we're now going to hear the beautiful voice of Laura Carter singing Inishmila, Percy Finch's song. Okay, Laura.
I can only sing
special request from one of your members here. This work was inspired by and based upon the legend of the Gaelic love god Ingus. And in that legend, Ingus wakens up out of sleep some night, he's wakened up, due to a vision of an amazingly beautiful woman. And he grows obsessed by her beauty and starts to wander, try and find her, wandering Ingus. He doesn't find her, but the moral of the story is that you have to have something to search for in life and to go after. Even if you don't find it, you still keep searching. So this is Wandering Ingus. I went out to the hazelwood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand, and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing, and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream, and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the floor, I went to blow the fire aflame. But something rustled on the floor, and someone called me by my name. It had become a glimmering girl with apple blossom in her hair, who called me by my name and ran and faded through the brightening air. Though I am old with wandering through hollow lands and hilly lands, I will find out where she has gone, and kiss her lips and take her hands, and walk among long dappled grass, and pluck till time and times are done, the silver apples of the moon, the gold apples of the sun. And now we have another one of William Percy French, a fairy song, and Pat has composed the music especially for this one. So when you're ready, Pat, please. Stay, silver ray, till the airy way we wing to the shade of the glade, where the fairies dance and sing. The mortals are asleep, they can never understand that night brings delight, it is day in fairyland. Golden note from the lute strings all in tune. Climb, quivering chime, up the moonbeams to the moon. There is music on the river, there is music on the strand. Night Again, this all reminds us of Yeats's famous poem, The Stolen Child. It is believed that the fairies would come and take away the human child and replace it with the fairy child, known as the changeling. And you all know the famous words of that. Come away, O human child, to the waters in the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than he can understand. William Percy French was able to move into a child's world very, very easily. In and out, just like that. That probably, of course, was because he had 3 young daughters himself, and would no doubt have spent a lot of time talking about fairies to them, etc. And we have one letter written by him to his daughter Molly, his young daughter Molly. And this is the kind of thing that he wrote to her. My dear little Molly, I hope you are jolly, and not melancholy, for that would be folly. Is Violet's nose still where the nose grows? Has she lost all her clothes and the rest of her toes? I hope that the cat is both happy and fat, and you don't squash her flat when you sit on the mat. Now don't be a baddie, for that would be saddy. Be good and I'm gladdy, your loving old daddy. And that's the letter he wrote to her. And there's one also written to his other daughter, Joan, when she was 11. A young lady who, by constantly disregarding any advice and eating more than was good for her, has now attained her 11th year. Oh, Joan, when you first saw the light, you caused us much annoy. For both your parents thought you may as well have been a boy. We had 2 daughters, each a gem. So thought, oh, was it strange, we'd had about enough of them. A boy would be a change. Okay, that's this letter, so you can see how the fun he had with his children, and that no doubt enabled him to move very quickly and rapidly in between worlds, into the fairy world and into the human world. Now we're going to up the tempo again here, bit of humour, and we've got the 4 Firelies. Harry Williamson is going to recite this for you. Okay, Harry?
Good evening. The 4 Firelies by Percy French. In a small hotel in London, I was sitting down to dine when the waiter brought the register and asked me if I'd sign. And as I signed, I saw a name that set my heart astir, a certain Francis Farrelly that signed the register. I knew a lot of Farrellys, and out of all the crew I began wondering which Francis Farrelly were you. So, when I'd finished dinner, I sat down in my chair, going round my native land to find which Farrelly you were. South! Were you the Francis Farrelly and that below Kenmare who told me that when Ireland fought, the odds were never fair? If Cromwell had met Sarsfield or Owen O'Neill, 'tis not to Mr. Gladstone we'd be looking for repeal. Would have Ireland for the Irish, not a Saxon to be seen, and only Gaelic spoken in that house in College Green. Told me landlords were the devil, and their agents 10 times worse, and every sort of government for Ireland was a curse. Oh, if you're that Francis Farrelly, your dreams have not come true. Still, Sláinte, Francis, for I like a man like you. North. Were you the Francis Farrelly that often used to say he'd like to blow them papishes from Daddy's walls away? The boy who used to bother me that Orange Lodge to join and thought that history started with the Battle of the Boyne. I was not always with you, Francis. The Pope is not my friend, but still, poor man, I hope he'll die without that bitter end. And when you quit from care yourself and get the kingdom come, it's no use teaching you the harp, you'll play the orange drum. Och, man, you were a fighter. Of that I have no doubt, for I seen you in Belfast the night the Antrim Road was out. And many a time that evening I thought that you were dead, the way them papist paving stones were hopping off your head. Oh, if you're that Francis Farrelly that came from North Tyrone, here's to you, Francis, but do leave the Pope alone. East. Were you the Francis Farrelly that in my college days for strolling on the Kingstown pier had such a curious craze? Do you remember them lovely sisters, the blonde, the brunette? I know I'm not forgotten, and I don't think you forget. The picnic at the Dargle and the other at the Scalp. My heart was palpitating. Hers wasn't, not a palp. Someone said, you married money, maybe you were wise, but the gold you loved was in her hair and the diamonds in her eyes. So I'd like to think you married her and that you're with her yet. 'Twas some militia officer that married the brunette. But the blonde one always loved you, and I know you loved her too. Sláinte, Francis, and the blue sky over you. West. Were you the Francis Farrelly I met so long ago in the bog below Belmullet in the county of Mayo? That long-legged, freckled Francis with the deep and wistful eyes that seemed to keep their colour from those ever-changing skies, that put his flute together as I sketched the distant scene and played me Planksty Kelly and the wakes of Inchkeen, that told me in the autumn he'd be sailing to the west to try to make his fortune and send money to the rest. And would I draw a picture of the place where he was born, and he'd hang it up and look at it and not feel so forlorn. And when I had it finished, you got up from where you sat and you said, well, you're the devil and I can't say more than that. If you're that Francis Farrelly, your fortune may be small, but I'm thinking, Francis, that I loved you best of all. And I never can forget you, although it's long ago, in the bog below Belmullet, in the county of Mayo.
Thank you, Harry. We're staying now with a bit of humour for the next one. And this is Are You Right There, Michael? And Noel Thompson is going to sing this for us. Aren't you, Noel?
Well, I didn't know it was. I will.
Blame Ronnie. Ronnie told me you were.
I don't have the words with me. You got the words?
No.
Well, I can't sing it. I only know the first word. I didn't know I was going to sing it.
Blame Ronnie.
Yeah.
This has got to
Has
do
anyone got
with...
the words? Sing it first. The one I thought I was going to sing was Bally James. But that's the wrong mood.
This has got to do with the railway system in Ireland, and the reason why Percy French were able to get around the country so much was because of the widespread system of the railways, and they weren't always very efficient. And he travelled by the West Clare Railway from Ennis out to Kilkee, and he was late for his engagement, and the audience was all going home by the time he got there. So he sued the railway company, and he got £10. And then they sued him for defamation of character. And he arrived at the court, and he was asked, why are you late? And he said to the judge, well, I'm afraid I travelled by the West Clare Railway. So the case was thrown out. So here we have Are You Right There, Michael? Sung by Michael or Noel Thompson.
I'll give you the first verse. It's all in it. what you call impromptu, I think.
You may talk of Columbus's sailing across the Atlantic Sea, but he never tried to go railing from Ennis as far as Kilkee. You run for the train in the morning, the excursion is starting at 8. You're there when the guard gives a warning, and there for an hour you will wait. And as you're waiting in the train, you'll hear the guard sing this refrain. You're right, there, right, there, you're right. Do you think you'll be there before the night? Well, your piece is on the side, and I couldn't say for certain, but you might. It's going to be right. That's all I know.
Thank you, Noel. We're coming down again now to a slower tempo here. We're now coming on to age and death. And of course, first thing we've got here is William Butler Yeats's self-written epitaph under Bernard Goldman's head. And the famous words, cast a cold eye on life, on death, horseman pass by. And Pat has created the music for this, and Winston is going to sing this for us.
Need the words for this. Okay.
Horseman pass on by. Horseman pass on by. Cast a cold eye on life, on death. Horseman pass on by. On the mare and Albin's head, in Dockleaf churchyard, Yeats lay. A kinsman once did sermon there long years ago. A church stands near. Horsemen fold on by, horsemen pass on by. Cast a cold eye on life, on death, horsemen pass on by.
think that's lovely. We're now staying the same theme here, age and death, and we're back now to William Butler Yeats again. We're staying with him, and this is The Wild Swans at Poole. He's watching the swans and he's thinking about his own passing years and how the swans will not age, and he envies them, their beauty and their longevity. And Pat again has created the music for this, so I hope you enjoy this. Written at the death of his first wife, Etty, who died only a year and a day after marriage, and their baby daughter followed her 2 weeks later. A very sad, traumatic period in William Percy's life. But he did find love again very shortly afterwards with Lenny, and they had a long and happy marriage together. So Gordon and Mona is now going to be sung again by Laura.
I thought the birds would
coming now up in the tempo again here, and we're coming to Slattery's Mounted Foot. The war clouds are gathering over Europe, and this is a satire written by William Percy French. Obviously a skit or a mock-up of the private armies. A bit like Dad, you watch Dad's Army, do you? A bit like Dad's Army. And we've lots of war terminology in it. Gallant, noble, squadrons, platoons, retreat, march, the words are all there. And of course you know that World War I, young men were encouraged to go out and fight for their country and to die a hero. What a wonderful way to die. We didn't know the truth until poets like Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon brought us the truth of the horrible death of the conditions in the trenches. But this one is a satire, on the whole a mock-up, of the people, sort of the volunteers who tried to protect the country. And of course the main stop is the pub. And Paul MacDonald is going to sing this for us. Not lost but gone before. This is what he called one of his pathetic poems, and yes, there is hope in it. It was written on the death of his wife, Etty, and there's hope there because he says we will meet again someday. Pat has composed the music for this, and I hope you enjoy this one. Once, only once, upon a time, we heard the bells of fairy chime, and through the golden nights and days, they sang their elfin roundelays. The world and we were in our prime, once, only once, upon a time. Has fairyland forever flown? The darkness falls on me alone. For on my sweet companion's eyes there shines the light of paradise. The heights of joy I cannot climb, as we did once upon a time. Oh, loved one of far away, I know that we shall meet someday, and once again walk hand in hand through all the rhythms of fairyland. And heaven's old harps around us chime, as they did once upon a time. And now we're coming to the end, and I want to remind you of the words of William Percy French's own epitaph. Remember me is all I ask, and yet, if the remembrance prove a task, forget. Well, William Percy French, no, we have not forgotten you, and we have not forgotten the day that's in it. So now I want to invite Laura and Winston and Paul, and I think the other one has done a runner, has he? To lead us in a loud rendition of Happy Birthday, Dear Willie, to William Percy French. And now, before we go, a final little treat for you, at a request of one particular member of your society. We're going to play a few golden oldies for you. If you were the only girl in the world, you know that one, don't you? And Let Me Call You Sweetheart, you know that one, don't you? And if you want to get up and dance around the place to it, you're very welcome to send you home in a happy mood. And before we go, we have CDs and DVDs here of Pat, Paul and Percy French. If you want to buy them, come and see us, and we have them here with us. It's been a pleasure being with you tonight. We hope you enjoy the next few numbers Pat is going to play, and we would like to see you up and dancing. They're slow, nothing hectic. Right? Okay? So good night, everybody. God bless you at home, and look after each other. And enjoy the dances.
Eileen here for bringing it all together and everything. And I would like to mark of our appreciation to receive a bouquet of flowers to Eileen and also to Laura. Could you come forward and have a and Laura? From your reaction and up to this evening, I trust that I'm sure you've all enjoyed a very varied programme and a very enjoyable evening. And I'd like to record once again my thanks to our Social Secretary, Pauline, for organising an evening flowers. Remember the sale of the DVDs and CDs here, so do linger a while and purchase some of these. But I enjoyed the evening thoroughly. Next occasion for the Society, just the end of May, will be the Society's annual trip to the cinema. That will be on Thursday the 24th. The mail drop has come through. Catherine has set it up. So we trust that there could be some response to that from the members. Bring other friends to the evening to the cinema. And so our next meeting of the Society will be in September, and we've been organising a varied programme from now until probably Bangor here for Christmas carols in December. So I trust that you look at your mail drops, support, and in fact others along, not only to enjoy the evenings with us, but possibly to enrol and become members of our Percy Friends Society. We're doing the work which she's asked us to do, not to forget him. I trust you've enjoyed the evening, and all I wish you well. Thank you for your support and a safe journey home.